stars, let's dive a bit deeper into the Middleton clan. According to published reports, the shadiest details to come out about Carole Middleton. By many accounts, Carole Middleton is a supportive mother to Kate Middleton, an affectionate mother in law to Prince William, and a doting grandmother to Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. But some shady details about the Middleton matriarch have surfaced over the years. Even though she has worked hard to keep her personal life private, much of the criticism refers to her life's trajectory, ascending from her family's humble origins all the way up to the royal family. For many, if Kate and Pippa Middleton are called the Wisteria sisters for their social climbing ambitions, they have their mother to blame. Carole is said to have always had her eyes on bigger and better things, a trait even her family admits to.
She's anxious to better herself and to make sure she's financially secure. You only get that when you're born with nothing. She is ambitious, very ambitious, for her family. And why not?
A relative told the Daily Mail in 2011. But many believe Carole has taken it too far, meddling in Kate's relationship with William and even pressuring him to propose. Because of her ambition and dedication to her family, Carole has been compared to the celeb momager Kris Jenner of Kardashian fame. While her ambitious nature led to a fruitful career as an entrepreneur, her leadership skills have been criticized by Party Piece's employees. The bankruptcy of Carole's multi-million-dollar business has also attracted negative attention for its toll on the taxpayers. Carole has many redeeming qualities, but her shady side hasn't gone unnoticed. Carole Middleton reportedly gave Prince William an ultimatum. Kate Middleton and Prince William met at the University of St. Andrews in 2001 and began dating between 2002 and 2003. It's very kind to call it dating, but it's unclear what William was up to in the early years of their knowing each other. Certainly it did not lead to a marriage or a serious commitment for a number of years, nearly a decade. They would not get engaged until October 2010, earning the now Princess of Wales the nickname Waity Katie. Carole Middleton wasn't oblivious to any of it. She supposedly worried about where the relationship was heading.
It is rumored that Carole Middleton took the delicate matter of her daughter's future into her own hands.
Royal expert Katie Nichols said in the documentary,
"When the Middletons met the monarchy."
Carole reportedly summoned William for a heart-to-heart and gave him an ultimatum.
She sat down with William and just said to him, "Is this going to end in a marriage?"
Nichols said. The meeting went well, according to the royal author.
William gave his assurance that he was going to make an honest woman of Kate. He wasn't going to leave her on the shelf,
she said. In true royal fashion, the couple has never addressed the rumors. But William and Kate have given a different version of how the engagement conversation with the Middletons went down. The discussion of Carole Middleton and the way she's described is always present day. It never harkens back to humble beginnings. It never talks about being a stewardess. It never talks about however the business began. It doesn't talk about what Michael Middleton did for a living. I think he was some kind of like dispatcher at the airline, not a fellow steward, but they were both, in a working class job, right? Now that job in the States pays what, $18 an hour, $23 an hour, but then you get free travel around, I guess, the world. I'm not sure what airline it was, but over on Twitter, someone who went to Eton discusses the way in which Kate, as part of the royal family and the Wales couple, operates, right? And that sort of unfortunate fashion in which Kate and William related to their subjects, or I guess members of the Commonwealth, how do you say it? By, being carried around on thrones, or, timidly shaking fingertips through fences and that sort of thing. But this gentleman who went to Eton says, Kate, who grew up in a semi-detached house and whose mother grew up on a council estate, has really buried her humble heritage. She was so ambitious at school. Both she and her sister were unpopular and were given a nasty nickname, encouraged by their upwardly mobile mother, and they both landed billionaires. When she got engaged to William, I was taken aback by her clipped, very upper-class English accent, which was more pronounced than the aristocratic girls I grew up with at Eton. Well, isn't that shocking? Or is it? Carole Middleton's company left the taxpayer to foot a hefty debt. Carole Middleton successfully ran party pieces for decades, but the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions on social gatherings and her personal decision to scale back her involvement proved fatal. As a result, Kate Middleton's parents suffered financially. Party pieces' financial issues are said to have started around 2019, when Carole stepped back from administrative duties to spend more time with her family. When she realized the state the company was in, she jumped into action. She applied for a government-sponsored coronavirus loan she couldn't repay, leaving the taxpayers to foot a £220,000 debt, roughly $275,000, the Times reported. Carole was left with no option but to sell the company. James Sinclair bought it for £180,000, about $225,000, in May 2023. So this was last year. This was, shall we say, 3 months after the Valentine's Day rumors about Prince William and his whereabouts on Valentine's Day, right? And it was roughly 7 months before whatever argument or incident happened in December 2023. James Sinclair bought the business when it was £2.6 million in debt. That's more than $3 million. Again, what was the purchase price of whatever Buckleberry property the Middletons live in? We know about the nasty poster campaign where debtors were posting these signs all over Buckleberry in Berkshire, demanding that Carole Middleton make good on her debts. They felt, as vendors, they were seduced into extending credit to an insolvent business, Party Pieces, because Carole Middleton puffed up her chest and spoke of her royal connections and that, oh no, she could never welch on a debt. And that wasn't true. Even in the year before the pandemic took hold, we all know 2019 versus 2020. We all got sat down for 2020. But before March, the party didn't stop. The media and the creditors who were owed money were not kind on the Middletons, nor should they be. Some publicly accused Carole of using her connection to the royal family to get them on board.
What hurt me the most was that I trusted her as the mother-in-law of the future king, and she just betrayed me,
one creditor told the Daily Mail. Carole's carefully guarded image took a hit.
The royals are meant to be inspirational for hard-working people, not those that are seen to profit from the loss of others,
a source told the Express. Carole and Michael Middleton reportedly squashed other business plans to safeguard Kate's image. Or could they not have businesses based on past behavior, right? In the States, it would be the equivalent of, running a business into the ground, right? We all saw The Sopranos, right? The sporting goods store where there were issues that brought the Sopranos and Tony Soprano into the owners' lives. At the point at which the business was no longer profitable, they turned it into a bust out, which is what? You run up the credit, you sell all the assets, you keep the business operating on paper as you siphon money out of it. Again, did you see this coming in 2019? Where did that loan money go? When did the Buckleberry property get purchased? How did those funds for COVID-19 get funneled into things like paying your mortgage, maybe buying that Audi saloon with the 5 wheels from that 2024 alleged photo with Kate? Where did that money go? And did it go into the business and paying debts, or was the money siphoned out of the business? We've heard talk of, Lord Rothermere and how his business is based in these islands, right? Offshore, something about Bermuda and some other island, and how you can kind of structure your salary so that you can pay yourself a salary and call it business expense, but that we're talking about hunks of over $250,000 of loan and purchase of the business. Did any of that money go into actually resuscitating the business, or did it get funneled into the estate, the fancy cars, the living expenses? Was any of that even necessary? If 2 of your children have married billionaires, right? That's Prince William and the very interesting man who Pippa married. No one ever talks about who James Middleton married and whether that woman and her family have money. I suspect they do, because he also bought a property in Berkshire. And he also had a business that, maybe more than one, that went belly up. How can you, in good conscience, buy luxury properties? These aren't people who are trying to get by, trying to be entrepreneurs, but it does sound like people. And we have quite a few of them in the States who do not want a job, do not want to earn money. They don't want to mow lawns, babysit, collect recyclable bottles. What they want to do is get loans and loans and loans, right? Donald Trump is another good example. They talk about what businessmen they are, but it's a house of cards. Is the Carole Middleton and Michael Middleton business a house of cards? Debt to income, debt to earnings, bankruptcy, but yet in the middle of it, you still have all these high-end properties. How is that mortgage being paid? Did you pay cash for the property? How does Uncle Gary Goldsmith figure into any of these expensive purchases? Is Pippa Middleton's husband underwriting any of this? Because it was a little unclear in the article about the Buckleberry Lodge that Pippa Middleton is renting out for parties and yoga retreats and spring break and, whatever else. There was a phrase about the Middleton parents moved into some sort of house on the estate. Is that their own house that they own? Or did Pippa Middleton's husband buy a whole bunch of real estate and let the parents live in that house? Is Pippa Middleton, hello, Buckleberry Lodge, would you like to book an event? Is it Pippa Middleton on the line? Is it Carole Middleton? Is it Michael Middleton? Is it James? How does the money work when you marry a billionaire like, Mr. Matthews? Again, hedge fund. Who gave him the money to do that? Whose riches are making him seem like he's rich and having a job? And what of this 5-year plus investigation into Mr. Matthews' father, the owner of Eden Rock in St. Bart's? The accusations are troubling. Carole and Michael Middleton have to know about that, and yet you give your blessings for your daughter to marry into that family. You push your other daughter, Kate, to marry into a family where we all know how things turned out for Princess Diana. Now, separately, I've posted about a car accident. The implication is that that car accident that put Carole Middleton into the hospital in 2024, am I reading this right? I have heard nothing about this. Is there more going on than these very carefully curated articles are making clear? How does the money work for Carole and Michael Middleton to still have real estate in Buckleberry? Do they own it, or are they just living in Pippa's husband's property? Right? No hate to either scenario, but I'm just trying to understand. You're a stewardess and your husband works at the airline right alongside you. You've got a little uniform on. I would die for photos. If anyone has photos of that, please share, send. So want to see it. Right? This article is talking about Carole Middleton grew up on a council estate. For my Americans, that means a housing project. That's the English word for housing project. Section 8. Oh, yes. Right? And then I guess Michael Middleton's family was slightly better off, but no one, again, defines it, discusses it, explains it, and with specificity, right? We've heard Uncle Gary Goldsmith talk about, oh, our family's from a very diverse area and all sorts of people were at the counter of some kind of restaurant that we Americans have never heard of. Who knows what he was talking about? But diverse implying working class and poor. You never see photos. You never see photos from Carole Middleton's high school, Carole Middleton's graduation. Maybe Carole Middleton did or didn't go to college. Nobody knows. Uncle Gary Goldsmith, it's just kind of blurry and erased and hidden. But I want to understand, who are these people? And are they the kind of two-bit hustlers that would use their royal association to get hardworking vendors to extend them credit and then stiff them? Because that certainly seems to be the claim. Again and again, and those claims and those debts have not disappeared to this day. Carole Middleton's employees painted ugly picture of her management style. Carole Middleton built her business from the ground up, but some of her former employees have contended that her dedication meant bad news for them. Speaking with the Daily Mail in 2019, Party Piece's staff members portrayed Carole as a boss who often snapped her fingers to get their attention and had no issue sending upwards of 70 emails to an employee in one day. She made everyone log their hours on a computer and docked their pay if they were even a few minutes late. I could understand having to clock in if you are being paid by the hour, but we were salaried staff. One employee said if workers needed to miss a couple of hours for a doctor's or dentist's appointment, they had to make up their hours. Some staff members recalled tensing up at the sound of her vehicle pulling up outside the office. A hard driving taskmaster! Are you shocked? I can't say I'm shocked. Right? How do they put it? A jumped up little social climber. So eager to be perceived as the big bad boss. Some of Carole's patrons also questioned her customer service in the years leading up to the company's sale. Party Pieces continued to deliver its products during the COVID-19 pandemic, but many customers contended the company failed to fulfill its promise. It's my brother's birthday tomorrow, and we have still not received our order, one customer wrote in a March 2020 post. The following post received a series of similar comments. I am deeply concerned, as to see all these other comments too. one penned asking about an order that hadn't arrived. Carole Middleton supposedly plotted Kate and William's romance. The Crown may have popularized the rumor that Carole Middleton orchestrated Kate Middleton's romance with Prince William in its sixth season, released in 2023, but it had been around for years. In the 2022 book, The Palace Papers, Inside the House of Windsor, The Truth and the Turmoil, royal author Tina Brown suggested Carole was behind some of her daughter's most strategic decisions that put her in William's path. For example, Carole was responsible for convincing Kate to ditch the University of Edinburgh for William's school of choice and to take a gap year to guarantee she would be in his class.
Carole's fingerprints are all over Kate's first move on the royal chessboard,
Brown wrote. Omid Scobie made similar claims in his controversial 2023 book,
Endgame: Inside the Royal Family and the Monarchy's Fight for Survival.
Carole calculatingly placed Kate right at the center of young Prince William's world, he wrote. Carole's role in the romance didn't end there. She continued to advise Kate throughout the relationship, ensuring her daughter stayed on track in the face of adversity. Coach Carole would dress her wounds, advise her on moves, and urge her to keep her eyes on the prize, Brown wrote. Carole's brother, Gary Goldsmith, came out in her support after season 6 was released.
I don't understand why Carole hasn't taken legal action, 'cause literally it's that bad,
he said on the Crown Factor Fiction podcast. Carole Middleton still owes quite a bit of money. After Carole Middleton sold Party Pieces, new owner James Sinclair became responsible for its multi-million-dollar debt. But the Middletons still owe £260,000, roughly $326,000, to Interpath Advisory, the insolvency firm they hired to oversee the company's recovery. The Times reported that in April 2024, so just last month, the firm, which charged an hourly fee of £566, about $710 an hour, had to put in more hours than initially expected, running a bill bigger than the company's assets. The Middletons' financial woes came at a particularly trying time for their daughter. In March 2024, Kate announced she had cancer and was undergoing preventative chemotherapy to treat it, and her mother doesn't want her own troubles to add to her daughter's stress. Carole
is desperately trying to keep Catherine fully focused on her recovery,
a source told Us Weekly after the Telegraph's report. Now, when they say a source, is that Carole Middleton herself? Because if it was a friend or family or Uncle Gary, why wouldn't they just give their name? Like, hey, I'm, Pat Johnson from down the road in Buckleberry. And what is a source? How do people get to write articles saying a source or Palace Insider? That's complete BS. And in this atmosphere, we cannot accept that sources cannot be named. There's nothing particularly exciting or controversial about this comment about Carole wants Catherine to focus on her recovery. Why would you hide your identity? Unless it's a quote that either the writer or, again, the back channel Middleton press operation is creating to make things seem more convincing. Is that the right word? The insider also emphasized that Carole won't turn to her family for help.
It is a worrying time for the family, but they are not looking for any assistance from their children and don't want them to worry,
the source added. Now, why wouldn't you ask for assistance from either of the billionaires that your daughter's married? Never mind who's footing the bill for old James and his dog food company after the failed marshmallow company after the World War II ill-conceived memorabilia stationery company And I hear about stale cakes, but it's very difficult to find information about that James Middleton business. She, Carole, is also said to have forbidden Kate to ask her anything related to the party pieces situation. Forbidden?
She will be pulling out all the stops to shield her daughter from this,
the insider added. Well, how about getting a job at Tesco, doing takeout, or getting King Charles to pay you for the enchiladas and the huevos rancheros and the skirt steak that you're dropping off when you're cooking up a storm for Kate and the Chillins? How about that? If you just monetize all this work, all this driving the kids around. The Norland nanny, Maria Barallo, was making 5 or 6 figures a year. So why can't Mama Middleton make a salary? You'd knock out that debt in like 2-3 years. No? Too working class for you now that you've achieved such highfalutin status? Huh. Despite her struggles, Carole is doing what she can to help Kate and William, having cleared her schedule to be available to care for the children, the Daily Mail reported. Now, why would she need to do that? I hear Kate and William have 60 plus hired helpers, including the nanny Maria Barallo, or a different nanny, or housekeepers, or, oh, I don't know, Pippa, or James, or their spouses. They seem to all live in the same area, so what would stop them from pitching in with childcare and, cooking up the chili or roast or mutton or bubble and squeak or whatever they like to eat over there in the UK? Why can't this be a family affair and everyone help out, pitch in, and hand over cash where needed? All this talk about Kate Middleton having $10 million in assets under her name. Do you believe it? All this talk about how many billions each of the husbands of Carole's daughters have, and they can't kick over a little interest-free loan. They can't cover the debt and make this stressful situation, embarrassing situation, all go away. What's up? Or have the boys, the husbands, already forked over a lot of money to keep the business going, to pay for lodging, clothing, electricity, expensive vehicles, private school? Like, is that too much outlay for the husbands to do more? Like, what's up? Right? These girls have given these husbands their legacy, and they can't cover what to them must be minor debt. It doesn't make sense unless it's to keep their very well-heeled boots on the neck of their in-laws and dangle the possibility of help. Keep them in this desperate situation, this embarrassing, high-pressure debt, so that the in-laws will behave, will keep their mouths shut, will toe the line, won't freak out about legal prosecutions on the one hand and the lack of legal prosecutions on the other hand, if you get my meaning. It is baffling, but I also feel like there must be more to the story. From a biographical point of view, I would love to delve into where the Middletons and Goldsmiths grew up, got their money, ended up working at the airport, got together, and now have moved into the higher echelons of society. Or have they? Are they being kicked back down? Are they being put in their place by the debt, the lack of assistance with that, and then, through other processes and incidents, as I'll cover in a different post today? But let me know your thoughts.